Hello, guys, and welcome to the Film Box. In today's episode, we're going to be going over the gear that I'll be using this year, as well as the gear I'm looking to get rid of. And lastly, the gear that I'll be looking to acquire this year. Now, I won't be going in depth on each piece of equipment that I'll be showing you guys today, but instead, I'll just give you the reasons of why I'm keeping it and why I'm going to be selling it. Now, let's start with the camera that's always with me, and that would be the Fujifilm X-T5. Now, this camera, I fell in love with it. What can I say? Now, the funny thing about it is that I actually purchased it to review it. As soon as it came out, I pre-ordered it. I said, I'm going to review it and I'm going to put out my good review and then I'm just going to sell it and recover my money. But no, I ended up falling in love with it so much that before this camera, I had the Fuji X-E4 and the X100V. I ended up just selling those two cameras and just keeping the X-T5. It's just perfect for me and it's perfect for my style of shooting, especially paired with the Sigma 18 to 50 millimeter 2.8. I just can't ask for a better camera right now. So let's move on to the next camera body, and that would be the Sony a7R5. Now, I used to have the Sony a7R2, which I loved and it worked great for me for photos, but as I started getting into video, it lacked a lot of good features that everybody needs now these days. So I decided to sell that one and instead use that money to upgrade to the a7R5. Now, that's the one that I used to pretty much do all my video work, whether it's on YouTube or Reels, TikToks, things like that. And it's been really good to me and I really enjoy using it, especially with my Sigma lenses. It just takes beautiful video. Highly recommend it if you're someone that's looking into getting to a hybrid camera that needs both photo and video. Just on the flip of a switch, this is the camera for you. And I forgot to mention the autofocus on it is insane. You guys have maybe heard about it. It has this AI learning autofocus that can just detect and like no matter what you do, it's always detecting your eye and it's really cool. And because of that, I never have to worry about missing focus on my video work. Now moving on to my film cameras. Now, back in 2019, that's when I started film. I tried so many film cameras, but I ended up just keeping two. One of them was the RZ67. This thing is a monster. It's such a pain to carry around, but let me tell you, the results you can get with this, especially paired with the 110 millimeter 2.8, does not disappoint, especially in portraits. So this has been my go-to camera when it comes to medium format. The other film camera that I use is the Leica M6. This is the camera that I use the most whenever I'm going to shoot 35 millimeter film. Well, not the most, is honestly the only camera I have to shoot 35 millimeter film with, but I usually just use it to take photos of family when we have, gatherings such as birthday parties and things like that. I don't use it as much. Now let's go over some lenses that I just can't live without. One of them would be the Sigma 35mm 1.4. This lens right here is my go-to lens when it comes to doing portraits, especially that 1.4 aperture just gives it a beautiful depth of field. It's very versatile, and honestly, if I could only have one lens for the rest of my life, it would be a 35mm 1.4. My other lens that never fails me and always stays on my Sony when shooting video is that Sigma 24 to 70mm 2.8. I always have to have that anytime I'm shooting video because it's just very versatile, and that 2.8 aperture gives you so much flexibility whether you're trying to get blurred backgrounds or you're trying to shoot in low light. Now, for my next Sigma lens that I have in my arsenal, now I know what you're thinking. You're seeing a pattern here. Sigma. I love Sigma. Now, Sigma, please sponsor me. Please. This Sigma lens is really cool because it zooms in and out. Having the 18 to 50 millimeter focal length makes it perfect paired with my Fujifilm X-T5, especially on the kind of work that I use. I try to shoot a lot of mundane things, cars, and just street photography, and just being able to zoom in and out makes it very easy to be able to compose your photos. Now, having that 2.8 aperture also allows me to get pretty nice photos in low light without having to have too much noise in my photos. Now, the other lenses I'm about to mention, I don't use them as much, but I do keep them because they do serve their purpose. One of them would be the 7 Artisans 35mm T2. Now, see what you're saying. Man, he has a lot of 35mm lenses. Yes, I do. I love 35mm focal length, so anytime I can grab one that can serve a purpose, I will definitely do it. In this case, this is a Cine lens, which is a lens that's made for video, and it's a manual focus lens, so that helps me a lot whenever I'm shooting and I'm trying to get pretty precise on my focus. Being able to just turn this ring, it's very smooth and it allows me to have really good focus on the things that I need to instead of relying on just autofocus and focusing on random things. The other lens that I have from 7 Artisans would be the 60mm 2.8. Now this lens, the sole purpose of it really is to scan my 35 and 120 film. I pair this with my X-T5 and get some really good results. So if you're looking for a macro lens and very inexpensive, highly recommend this one. The next lens I want to show you guys is the Fujifilm 23mm 1.4. This is a great lens. It was actually my first lens that I ever used on my Fujifilm camera, which was the Xe4 at the time. And it used to never come off the Xe4. Good times. And the last one I have to show you guys would be the Voigtlander 35mm 1.4. I know, another 35mm lens. But this lens, really, the only reason I have it for is that it fits on my Leica M6 very well. I never had the money to buy the Leica glass, but this does not disappoint. Highly recommend it. Such a tiny little lens. So if you're looking for something that's very portable and give you really nice and sharp results, highly recommend this one too. I do want to share with you guys some accessories that I always keep in my camera bag. One of those would be a variable ND filter. I do buy it at the largest size. In this case, it's an 82mm thread size. And the reason why is I use these little step up rings right here. So instead of buying the filter in different sizes to fit different lenses, I can just use these right here and fit the biggest one into any of the smaller lenses. So it works perfect and it saves you money in the long run. I also have this little cheap monitor from Freeworld. Mount this on top of my Sony camera whenever I'm doing videos to allow to see a bigger picture or allow to see myself from far away. So I do highly recommend one of these if you're a creator that uses yourself to film. So if you don't have someone else to help you record, this will help you out a lot, especially if you have those cameras that don't have the flip out screen to see it like in vlogging mode. You can use one of these. You just hook it up with HDMI to your camera. Now let's talk about gear that I'm looking to get rid of. Now this was a very hard decision and I've been contemplating it for years. But the one camera that I am looking to sell this year would be my Leica M6. I know. And I really hope that I don't regret it. I love this camera, but I just don't shoot a lot of 35mm film anymore. I'd probably take this camera out maybe once or twice a year, and I just can't justify to have such an expensive camera just sitting there. So I'm hoping that this year it's gonna find a new owner that will take good care of it and use it to create some beautiful images. The other thing that I'm looking to get rid of would be the Fujifilm 23mm 1.4. As I mentioned before, I haven't used this lens much ever since I got the 18 to 50mm from Sigma. Just because of my shooting style has changed a little bit when it comes to my Fujifilm cameras. I tend to shoot more stuff that I don't really require that 1.4 aperture, and being able to zoom in and out using the 1850 just been a lot better for me as far as my style. So because of that, I'm gonna sell it and hopefully get, I don't know, maybe a different lens, or just put that towards, the bank and be able to buy a camera that comes out this year. If you're watching this, there's a lot of rumors about Fujifilm cameras coming out, so this could help out a lot. Now, with all that being said of the cameras that I'm looking to get rid of this year, I do want to use those funds to be able to get into the GFX camera system. I've been thinking so hard about it and seen a bunch of YouTube videos about it, and I'm almost convinced that I really do need one. And I really want to get the Metacon 65mm because I love portraits, and I think that camera will do a really good job to get, that beautiful 3D look that I'm looking for, especially on full body shots. So I'm looking forward to getting the GFX system. I still don't know which of those because they have a lot of cameras and they vary by a lot or by a little. I'm definitely not going to get the latest one that came out for $7,000. I cannot afford that. So hopefully with selling my Leica and selling that lens that I have, and even the Voigtlander, if somebody wants to buy the Leica and the Voigtlander together, I should be able to have enough money to get me one of the medium format cameras from Fujifilm. And I love Fujifilm, and because of that, I trust that I'm gonna love those cameras. I'm gonna love the colors that are gonna come out of it and the results for it. So I'm really excited. Now, if any of you guys have any suggestions based on experience of which GFX camera you guys used in the past, leave it in the comments below. It will help me out a lot. I have been watching a lot of videos, but at the same time, I would love to see any suggestions that you have based on what you used before. Well, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to love, like, share, and subscribe.